Yes, yeah. It's time for the mules and donkeys. Podcast. Yeah.
It is that time for Mules and Donkeys, talking mules and donkeys with Steve Edwards. My name's Dave. So glad to have you here. Steve, you made it back this week.
Yeah. I'm gonna watch your jokes next time I have a cup of coffee.
Oh my gosh. Y'all, last week, y'all were so sweet. Folks were asking in the comment section at the end of the video, hey, is Steve okay? Steve okay? Steve is okay. Steve's here with us. We had a bit of a scare. Last week, it was perfect timing. I told the joke of my life, and Steven was sipping down come along coffee, and it proved to not be a deadly combination, though we were scared there for a second. Steve, you fell down on the ground. I had you in stitches.
Yeah. I had a mouthful of coffee, and when you said that, I didn't want to spit it out all over my computer. So I turned to go to the right here to spit it out, and I got hung up in the chair. And when I got hung up in the chair, I just fell right down. And yeah, and I thought maybe it was that coffee because I was drinking that come along the demand coffee, you know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Y'all, I was so scared, and I'm grateful that you're okay. I'm grateful that we've got another awesome program today, and let's not do that again, Steve.
Well, I haven't seen you in tears, and you were in tears that afternoon. Yeah.
I was. I'll tell you what. We want to talk mules and donkeys, but I know there's probably some folks out there who are like me. All of my life, I'm 41. All of my life, I've been to funerals, memorial services. Bad things have happened to my life. Like I don't really get super emotional. Like I'm feeling things, but I don't get emotional in terms of crying, and I don't have an aversion to crying. I'm fine with it. I'm good with it, and I want my boys to know it's okay to cry. God made us able to cry. If He didn't want us to cry, He wouldn't have given us the ability to cry. So I'm fine with it. After last week, and I hit end, I just started weeping because I was so scared, and I just was grateful to God that it was like I have emotions, like I'm able to feel this, and I was scared, and I'm grateful that you're here, and I don't want you going anywhere. I love you. I love Susan. But it was one of those deals where I'm okay with the way that I was, but I was grateful that I could feel the emotion, and it just makes me rejoice that God's made me the way that I am, and I'll spend my whole life trying to figure out the way He's dialed me up. But we're going to dial up some mule and donkey conversations today. We're going to be limited on... Okay, he swallowed. We're going to be limited on the jokes. Make sure that we can get through the whole hour, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Folks, like I said, my name's Dave. This is Steve Edwards. Every single Tuesday, we get together to talk about mules and donkeys. We take about 60 minutes so that when you get back out there, as the weather gets nicer, as the sun starts coming out, as you have adventures that come up, you don't experience the frustration of working, getting no results, but you experience the freedom of owning one of these animals, ruling over it, having dominion over it, being able to subdue it and get it to go the way you want it to go. That is a rewarding feeling. That's the way God designed it, and we want that for you as well. So that's why we do this each week. In exchange, there's really only three things we ask. Folks who watch every week, they know what those three things are. If this is your first time watching or first time in a long time, I'll go ahead and let you in on the request too. First and foremost, we want to know that you're here. Rory and Bill on Facebook, they're already doing us a solid. We want to know that you're here. We want your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather's like today. We want to say hello to you. One day we hope to be able to put a face to the name, but right now we'll take your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather is like today so we can say hello. Steve, it's a little bit dark there. Usually we've got the Arizona sun pounding in through the windows, but it is not happening today, my friend.
It's raining out there.
It is raining. That means some beautiful, beautiful growth coming in about 3 or 4 days, eh?
It's green out there. I mean, green, absolutely incredible.
I love it. Grass in the desert is beautiful. If y'all haven't seen it, y'all need to. So Out here, rain as well. Second thing we ask is that you help us make this program incredible by asking any and every mule or donkey question that you have. Some questions have come in this week. We'll go through them. Some questions have come in on Facebook and YouTube. We'll go through those, but we want to hear what your questions are. So go ahead, put those in the comment section, and we will be happy to get those answered for you and for future people watching. The third thing that we ask, this is a huge help for us. This is what allows us to continue the program, is that you share the broadcast. You do that by commenting, subscribing, sharing. That's how you do it. You let all those algorithms know that, hey, this is the place to be, 3 o'clock Arizona time on a Tuesday. You let those algorithms know that they got to be recommending this to other people. So, Steve, you sent over a picture. You want to go ahead? You want to tell us what this picture is that we've got here?
Yep.
Let's see. Oh, my little window disappeared, and where's my scenes? Scenes. Oh, here it is.
There it is.
There we go.
Okay, there I am in Manchester, Georgia, and this is the home of David Pengelly Come Along Coffee. Now, when I travel, I like to stop by fire stations and visit with them, and they always like visiting with one another, and we switch out T-shirts, so that I've got an official, here it is, right here, official, yeah, right, something like that, there we go, official Manchester T-shirt from the fire department, and the official hat, yes, right there, yes, sir, and so they were hoping that day we'd go on scene somewhere, but we just kind of kidding, we don't like to say that, because we like to have get-togethers with the fire department and stuff, but we'd rather not have to go somewhere, simply because if we do, we usually sometimes can be pretty ugly. Anyway, but these are a great bunch of guys. They give me this T-shirt. It's a huge T-shirt. I mean, it's big. But I want you to notice the guy on my right-hand side, the tallest guy, that right there, that guy is the fire chief, and he is almost 7 foot tall. Yep, he's a big boy. I don't know the exact measurement, but I think maybe if Pengelly is out there, he could tell us. But that's all the guys there in the fire department. We switched out a T-shirt. I gave the guy on my left, he's a pretty good sized guy. We switched out T-shirts, and they gave me a hat. So I'm official firefighter at Manchester, Georgia, by golly. Good group of guys.
How about that? Love that. That's so much fun. Folks, if you want a Steve Edwards Queen Valley Mule Ranch shirt, those are on the website. You can get the same thing that Steve left there with the guys in Manchester, Georgia. Well, with that, let's go ahead and say hello to some of our friends. Rory is watching from Southwest Ohio, bright, sunny, and 48 degrees. Glad Steve is all right. Mom always said, don't talk with your mouth full. Yeah. There you go. Good. Mom's right. Yeah. Hey, Bill Rose, howdy, fellas. Going out to the good folks in Ohio and Indiana. 40 degrees with some sunshine for a few days. Soak it up, Bill. Get that vitamin D. Mario is watching. Good afternoon, guys. Rainy and a brisk 54 in Central Valley, California. Great to see you back in the chair, Steve. There we go. Mari is watching. 70 degrees here in Winston, Missouri. A beautiful gift from God. Polly is watching. Let's see here. Barnesville, Minnesota, 44 above and beautiful. Riding again tomorrow. Good for you, Polly. That's great. David Scholl. Hey, there we go. International. Hi, Steve and Dave. Hello from hot and humid Queensland, Australia. Mario's got our first question from the day. Let's see here. I think this is it. Imprinting. I have come across some breeders that are using this method when a foal is born. Just like to know what your thoughts are on this training method for mules. Thank you.
Dr. Robert Miller first brought imprinting into the equine world, I don't know, 40 some years ago now. And Dr. Miller traveled worldwide. Yep, there he is, doing seminars on imprinting. And cowboy in all my life, we didn't mess with young horses much, young mules and stuff. We just let them roam out on the side of a mountain, and we didn't touch them till they were 3 to 5 years old. They got some growth on them, but they were pretty tough by them. But this imprinting, it's a wonderful thing. I remember the first time I worked with an imprinted mule, that sucker dragged me all over the place. I didn't think I was ever going to get anywhere with this thing. He's always getting in my space and nibbling on me and things like this. And he was a 3-year-old. And I kept thinking, this Dr. Miller, this is ridiculous to have an imprinted mule to act like this. They got no fear when it comes to man. They just all in your space. So I wrote this article in the Western Mule magazine. And what I said was, I don't like this imprinting. One of these days, I'm going to see this Dr. Miller, and I'm going to tell him what I think about his imprinting. Yeah. And so Dr. Miller read my article. Dr. Miller sent me a letter, a handwritten letter. He said, hey, Steve, I've been reading all about you, know about you and this stuff. Know you compete at the World Championships. And he says, I'm going to be there this year. How about you and I meet up and sit down and talk? I thought, oh, good. I'm going to get even with this Dr. Miller for this stupid stuff. Long story short, just like anything else, folks, just like my training or other training and this sort of thing out there, when it is done correctly, it works. When it is done incorrectly, it doesn't work. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Just like working on a car, just like doing other things, anything that you want to do, you can get a job done with a crescent wrench and a pair of pliers. But if you have the right hand tools, it works better. Well, when I met with Dr. Miller, it was life-changing. Yeah, life-changing. I was given a seminar there at Bishop. I gave the first mule training seminars that was ever taught there at Bishop, California. And I had done several of them there by this time. Of course, they all knew me competing and this sort of thing. So I met Dr. Miller, sit down and visit with him for the first time. And wow, what a life change. I ended up teaching at Pierce College in LA. I put together the first Mule Trainers program in the nation there. And thanks to Dr. Mark Drummond, who loved mules, and he put together the program there. And then I put together all the details. He basically furnished, he said, here it is, Steve, do it. And I did. And Dr. Miller would come to the school and he would listen to me teach, and he would explain the scientific way about it to my students and stuff. And he showed up a lot. I trained a couple mules for Dr. Miller. I even trained a little mule that he has. They're just little tiny mule. He was born with some people, and I forget how big he was right now, but Dr. Miller carried him around in his arm. That's how small he was. And I trained him to pull a cart. Anyway, long story short, we got to be really good friends with the Millers. They come over here to the ranch and spent some time over here. I trained a couple mules for them, and they competed there at Bishop in the Mule Days. Anyway, long story short, I made a long story short, okay? This is short, is that it's an excellent, excellent program. Imprinting is awesome. When I was in Brazil training for the International Equus, we saw mules there and horses that were imprinted properly. And Dr. Miller was there. He was my guest there at International Equus. And we got to see these animals that were trained in Brazil with imprinting. And it's a wonderful thing. So there it is. Is imprinting good? Yes, it is, when it is done right.
Awesome. Very good. Great question. I put a link in the comment section to Dr. Miller's book. Y'all can go check that out. And that's one that we recommend here regularly. to the point where I put a link up on Steve's website. It takes people to Amazon. They can get it there. We don't sell it, but you got you could get it there, and that'd be great. So thank you, Mario. Mari is watching, says it's almost 70 degrees here in Winston, Missouri. A beautiful gift from God. Oh, we read that one. Okay, moving right down here. Still a beautiful gift. Bill says, correction, 48 degrees. Thank you, Rory Wickham. So it looks like we've got some friendly banter. We love the friendly banter. That's how we know we're doing good around here. Kathy's watching from Houston, Texas, 69, excited for another show. You and me both, Kathy. I was excited for this one. Hannah's watching from Dunedin, Florida, 68 degrees, sunny. God bless America. Judy is watching, 50 degrees, calm between the storm. Gazelle, California, calm between the storm. That's what we call bedtime for our three boys. Frank is watching from Long Island, New York, sunny and 32. Glad to see Steve is okay. You and me both, Frank. Question, is there any mule trainers that Steve recommends to go to their clinics, recommend going to their clinics operating in the U.S.? Steve, what are your thoughts here?
I don't know of all the mule trainers out there. I know of a few that are out there, and there's a major difference between training a horse and a mule, and a lot of folks are kind of jumping on the mule bandwagon and thinking they can maybe get ahead a little bit that way. To answer your question, no. What I have seen so far of the videos that I've seen on YouTube, it's a mule costume over top of a horse. Okay. There is some similarities that, yes, we can do some things with the mule that we do with the horse. The majority of things that we do end up kind of, they look good for a while and then it goes away. And that's kind of, it's not completely as I was talking about before, it's not completely the technique's problem. It could very well be the person using the technique problem. Yeah. But most of the time, when you sit and listen to them, you will hear them mimicking horse riders. Okay. There's some as a trainer or so, maybe a couple of them, I don't know, that actually mimic Ray Hunt. Ray Hunt was an awesome trainer. He was world renowned. He studied under a couple really good guys that I know about, and this sort of thing. But Ray Hunt's techniques was wonderful for horses. They kind of worked for the mules, and some of that's being done right now. I have watched some of these clinicians, and and if you don't have any knowledge at all, it's better than nothing. But to be honest with you, you need to go in and make your own decision. All right? Look at what I do, look at what these other guys do, and then decide, okay, this works for me and this doesn't. If it works for you, use it. If it don't work for you, don't use it, okay? And that's my favorite saying from Tom Durrance. So there it is. I don't know of anybody out there right now that I would say, yep, that person is honestly going to be able to help you through. So there it is. That's the honest truth that I've seen so far.
Next question. This comes in from Marlene. The difference between foal and colt, are those words used to determine the sex of the animal? Are colts male and foals are female?
They're actually used almost together, foal, colt. Some people will call a newborn a colt. Some people will call a newborn a foal. Okay. Colt in the cowboy world is usually a gelded or a stallion, even sometimes, but it is a male horse. A lot of people call young horses under 5 colts. Okay. I've done the same thing myself. Foals usually before they're a year old. So there it is. It's not really a gender practice. It's usually just a use of word, just kind of overall.
Awesome. Great question. That's one of those, honestly, I forget what the differences are. A lot of folks don't realize it. I don't spend a lot of time around equine. I haven't. I know everything because we spend so much time together, Steve. And there's a lot of things that I get mixed up. That's one that I get mixed up, and I'm sure I'll get it mixed up again and forget, and that's okay. I know where to take my questions. All right, let's see here. I watched some other guys. Oh, Frank's following up to his questions about trainers. He says, I watched some other guys and they just seem way off from what Steve is preaching. Yep, Frank, there's a lot of well-meaning folks out there. There's a lot of folks who who don't necessarily take the time to learn and don't teach what's correct. There's some folks who they're doing their best and they just haven't learned yet. So we'll tell you what we know, and that's just coming from Steve's experience. And if it works, go. If it don't work, find something that does. Mari says, I have heard that an equine that has its hair growing forward on its sides could have Cushing's disease. My 9-month-old has this going on. Do you know anything about this? So one, Steve, what's Cushing's disease? And then two, is that a sign of it?
I don't know that it's a sign of it. I know hair follicles teach you a lot. Cushing's is a hoof disease that nobody knows, that we cannot find a for sure cure for it or for sure how it starts. There's a lot of ideas out there, but I don't know anything about hair going a certain area. The best thing I can say to you to do, folks, always is this. Take your veterinarian, have them do a blood sample. That's one thing. Next thing, take your veterinarian and take it to a hair follicle test. Those two things right there will pretty much give you an idea of what's going on in an animal. Now, another thing you could do, of course, if you can get some urine, if that's possible, or some poop, tells you a few more things too. But usually hair follicle and blood test will do you the most.
Great. Thank you very much, Mari. David Pengelly, Chief Ben is 7'1" tall, Steve. It's a great day here in Manchester. I'll tell Ben you mentioned him.
Yeah, 7'1". My goodness. He's a big man. I look him in the belt buckle,
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Woo. All right, let's see here. Cowboy Ken watching at 38 degrees in Connecticut. Heike's watching. Hi, 43 degrees and light rain in Averlach, Germany. We have gone international again. Good to have you here. Heike, did I pronounce that correct, or Hike? Let me know how to pronounce it, because I'm very grateful that you're here and I want to do it the right way. What's that?
That's the first one from
first. Yeah. Yep, that's the first one from Averlach, Germany. That's great. Yeah. Leslie's watching from Central Illinois, where it's 45 and sunny. Maggie says, always good info. Thank you, Steve and Dave. Hoffman, North Carolina, 60 and sunny. Rome, Georgia. Christina's watching, 63 degrees and blue skies. Bill says, Colt is usually a male foal baby. Filly is a female foal in horse language. So there you go. Thank you, Bill. Yep. Herschel is watching live. Herschel, we've seen you in the comment sections. Good to have you live here. Good afternoon, sunshine and 55 degrees. Have a good week. Hey, we'll take it. Love hearing that. Let's see here. Steve, do we want to go to the other picture you sent me?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's go there.
All right, now, folks, this mule just got this Cowboy Saddle. And he just got this Cowboy Saddle from the mule skinner in the Netherlands. Who is the mule skinner in the Netherlands? If you can tell me who that person is, I will send you a Queen Valley hat. Okay, that's one. Now, rest of you, anybody, all saddled up with a Steve Edwards Cowboy Saddle. What kind of information would you give this person? They say to you, how does my saddle look on this mule? and I want you to give me uh, some things that this mule doesn't need or does need. You tell me, okay? You tell me what you think this mule needs and don't need. And when I hear you and hear what's going on, I will send you a hat as well for giving me the best ideas how to make this mule better, or everything's good. You tell me. In the meantime, while you're looking at this picture, I'm going to get a cup of coffee.
Coffee, coffee, coffee. That's Come Along Coffee, folks. And while Steve's doing that, I want to show y'all something here. Let's see here. Okay. So, okay, y'all can hear me. Steve, we'll see when Steve comes back. So right here on the Mule Ranch website, if you're looking for the Come Along Coffee, you can go and you can search anything right here in the upper right-hand corner on a desktop. And so Steve's filling up with the Come Along Coffee right here. This comes ground fresh from roasted fresh from Mr. David Pengelly in Manchester, Georgia. Coffee by David. And so you can get your very own coffee with a kick and muleranch.com. Well, I also wanted to show y'all, and I'm trying to do this more often so that when folks get their videos at muleranch.com, they know exactly where to go. You show up to the website here, you show up to the homepage, and you'll see that the menu is the same up here every single page. Well, right here, it says My Accounts and Orders. If you click on My Accounts and Orders right there, if you're logged in, it'll take you here. If you're not, it'll ask you to log in. Right here, you see it says Watch Videos. If you click on Watch Videos, every single video that you have purchased and have a digital version, so when you go to checkout, select digital version, not DVD, it will show up here in this video library for you. And so this video library right here, you can see I've purchased After the Wreck. I've purchased Basics of Shoeing Your Mule, Donkey, Horse, Doctoring Your Mule, and that's it. But I've also got Installing Your Come Along Rope, and there's a collection here of multiple videos. I've got 5 videos here of Come Along Rope installation help. If I go back here, you'll see that I've also got a video for installing your rope halter, the Mule Saddle training course, Surcingle training. And so we've pulled our best Surcingle training videos and a Surcingle training webinar available right here as well. And this is all free. There you go. Free right there. So when you purchase videos from muleranch.com, right up here, My Account and Orders, and then Watch Videos, it shows you everything that you got. You can see your receipts, contact information, all sorts of stuff. But I wanted to take a moment to show that to y'all so you know where to go to get your videos. And so let's see here. All right, Steve, do you want me to read out what they've been saying back, or do you have more comments you want to make here?
No, I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, so let me pull this back up here. Okay, let's see here. Rory said Yolanda. So Rory was the first person. Yolanda, that's correct. Yolanda sent this in. And then let's see here. Rory made the comment that there needs to be a britchin. Polly made the comment that it's too far forward and needs a britchin. Leslie, here we go. Leslie says, too far forward, needs a britchin, and no breast collar. Though I do think I see a breast collar there. Is that the correct breast collar?
No, notice the breast collar is on there incorrectly. But good point. Good, you can see that.
It's a good eye.
Look how it's pulling on the esophagus.
Yep, that's a good eye. Okay, let's see here. Judy says needs a britchin. It's too far forward. Christine says saddle is too far forward. Let's see here. Rory says, I would move the saddle back off the scapula by 2 fingers. So there you go. Breeching and back cinch from Mari. And let's see here. Yep, there you go. Wow. Saddle is Cowboy Ken. Saddle's too far forward. Needs breeching. Dave took pick down. Put the pick back up there. So there you go, Steve. There's some of the comments.
Wow, you guys are incredible. You see that the saddle is too far forward. Now, all right. Now, I don't want you to think I'm being critical about other trainers and this sort of thing. I've always been telling you all, I want you to look for yourselves and see if you would have that person train your mule. All right. And when you see some of these videos, I want you to notice some of those trainers have their saddle sitting on top of the scapula. All right. Folks, this is the beginning. This is like going around and checking your oil and tires and this sort of thing before you go on a trip. Everything's going to be good. Now, you all got the ones that say they got the saddle too far forward. Yes. Okay. You get no breeching. Yes. Okay. The rear cinch. Yes, it's not quite right. But notice one thing, folks. This is really important. Notice how the two cinches are too far apart. See? So you have the front cinch, which you can tell. Now, this little mule is in the Netherlands. So he's going to have a lot more hair. So you can kind of see how the hair goes over top of the cinches, all right? But notice how the front cinch is at an angle, all right? And if we took the front cinch and put a hobble strap between the back cinch and the front cinch, okay? If we did that, that would then hold the two cinches in the right place. The rear cinch holds the saddle into place. Notice the rear cinch is at an angle. If we can see the front cinch, which you kind of can see, I don't know if you can bring it up or not, but you can see it's at an angle. So you got your two cinches are doing this, all right? If that saddle was back, and you were all correct about that, if that saddle was back, that rear cinch would be straight up and down. You see how it's not, okay? So that's what you would do to help them, and you were all very good with that. Very good. The breeching too far forward, good for you. Let's see here.
Well, let's see. The first person to identify our trainer was Rory. He said
Rory.
Yolanda.
Okay.
And then you've got a good answer, a better answer, and I think maybe a best answer. You had one person said too far forward, needs a britchin. One person said britchin, and one person said too far forward, needs a britchin, no breast collar. Who do you want to pick there as our winner?
Who was the one that chose about the rear cinch as well?
Let's see here.
Like you said, too far forward, no britching, and rear
There was
cinch.
someone who said breeching and back cinch.
Yeah. What was there? 5 people there?
I think, yeah, 5 total, 4 for the second one.
Wow. Well, since they were all so good, I'm going to send them all a hat.
Hey, there we go. All right. Rory, go ahead, reach out to Steve at muleranch.com. And then Polly, Leslie, and let's see here. Polly, Leslie, and where's the other one? And Mari. Rory actually answered both questions correctly. So Polly, Mari, and Leslie, send a Steve at muleranch.com. So Rory, Polly, Mari, and Leslie.
Now you can either have a hat or I'll send you a t-shirt, whichever one you want.
There we go. Look at that. Generosity. We love it. Steve's feeling very generous today. So y'all reach out to him. He'll really appreciate that. Steve, check these out right here. I've got these for you as well. Let me get this. There we go. So Yolanda sent these in as well.
I started to say, who is this, folks? Okay, Yolanda, there she is. Now notice, okay, she's not a only Sunday day rider. Yolanda rides, she's in the Netherlands, folks. It's a little cool there. She rides all the time. This is a Spanish mule. Spanish mule. Mother is a Spanish horse. She can probably tell us the name of it. Now, Yolanda has put wool all over her breast collar and her breeching. Okay. Now, I'll tell you a little story, folks, and then you all can all make your own decisions. All right. Uncle Bud, he was really bad for one thing about not oiling his tack. He was really bad about it. And if you got tack, breeching and breast collar need to be well oiled. I mean, heavily oiled. Okay. And in order to stay soft. So Uncle Bud met me at the trailhead one day, and all of his pack mules and his riding mule, all he'd put brand new wool on them, just like this. And he says, "Man, Steve," he says, "I'm not going to get no more chafing on my mules, no more pulling hair." He said, "I really fixed the problem." I said, "Wow, Uncle Bud, that's quite a good idea. Let's see how that works." So we were in the Superstition Wilderness, and we packed back in the wilderness back in there. And we went back in, and when we got in, now this is 18 miles, 3 miles an hour. So it took us about 4.5 hours to 5 hours of going in there. Okay, averaging 3 miles an hour. Now we can get up to 5 miles an hour as we're walking. Okay, so we had a pretty long trip. By the time we got in, and remember, Uncle Bud had wool all over his breeching, all over his breast collar, because it's soft, it's nice. The problem was, it was 100+ degrees, and these mules were sweating, and the salt was running off of them, and the salt got into the wool, and the salt was like sandpaper in that wool. And it took off. It was like sanding hair off, folks. Yep. And I even thought it was a pretty good idea myself. But here's the thing, folks. Even if you wash it really good and keep it super clean, just taking a trip like that into the wilderness and back out again, we cut all that wool off because it really made a mess of those mules. Now, Yolanda, she's probably got it a little bit different there. I don't know. She says she's doing good. And Yolanda has, if any mule is well taken care of, Yolanda has done it. If you see some of the articles that I think we got an article on the website, don't we, Dave, that she had given us about shoeing and stuff. And she also sent us some pictures, and I think it's on the website too, of the difference between a donkey and a horse. You can see the bone structure there of in the museum. I mean, she really tries hard. She wants so much to do this. So, and she now has my Buckaroo saddle. She wrote me a little, let me just read this to you, folks. She wrote a little note here with these pictures she sent. It says, "Hey, Steve, I sold my Cowboy saddle to someone who also is a fan of you, and she's very happy with the saddle. She's going to use it for her Molly mule, now 2 years old. She can get used to it." So that little mule that you all saw in there is 2 years old. She will order the breast collar, yay, and the breeching, yay. So this is the first time, okay? And I brought her the saddle and bringing my mule with me so we could go for a stroll. So here's what Yolanda did. She took her mule and she went for a stroll with this lady while she led her Colt, her 2-year-old, on a nice little walk, okay? And it says, "Your bridle that I customized looks great on Abby, and you can use the pictures on your website and your seminars, okay? I'm glad I bought the Buckaroo saddle, and yes, I know the wool padding well on my mule, and are happy with it, and she has no scratches or chafing. Know the reason why she has the wool padding." Okay, so she wanted us to know, and I've talked about it before, folks, but here it is. Here's what you got to remember: it is almost impossible not to pull some hair on these animals when you're riding. It's that breeching, the breast collar is going to move. It's going to happen. Most of the time, folks, the majority of the time, it is not adjusted correctly That's why it's chafing. Very, very important. Understand, the breast collar is attached to the pommel. The breast collar moves like this with the animal. It's not a pulling collar which bumps, 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 and brings the saddle forward. The breast collar, it goes down, the strap goes down between the legs and goes to the front cinch. That holds the breast collar down so that it doesn't work incorrectly. You hear that? So it holds it down. Then that front cinch is attached to a hobble strap, which then is attached to the back cinch, which is the anchor. Get that in your mind, folks, which is the anchor of keeping a mule saddle into place. It's the anchor. Now, going back to the mule trainers out there and the seminars and stuff, watch them. You'll see they are using horse techniques on their saddles. Their rear saddles have billets. The rear saddles has a big leather cinch. That's horse stuff, folks. That back cinch is the most important part of balancing the saddle correctly, holding it into place. Your breeching does the final balancing. Hear that? Your two straps along the side keep it from going side to side. The two straps along the back help keep the saddle from going forward. The breeching does not hold back the saddle. The breeching balances the saddle. The rear cinch balances the saddle and it anchors the saddle into place. When it is straight up and down is when it's working the most correct. Again, watch your trainers out there. Watch the videos. I've watched a lot of these videos, okay? A lot of these videos. One guy's talking about a tree and he's moving the tree around and talking about it and stuff. I've seen some other guys riding around in circles and figure eights and this sort of thing. Listen to them. Listen, and if it works for you, let it go. So there you go. There she is. She's a wonderful example of somebody who loves to ride. Look at her going through water, and look at that mule. Notice, folks, look at that mule. That mule is framed up, balanced. You see that? Top of the hip, top of the wither. And notice her hands are down. And notice that mule is looking where it's going. Do you see that, folks? That is correct. That is what you want to see. Hey, good job with that red line there, Dave. Wow. Y'all see that? That's the way your mule should be walking. That's the way, okay? Now, Jolana's not a trainer. All the things she did was she spent time trying to make her mule comfortable. When you make that mule look like that right there, folks, look at it. Now, remember last week I showed you some other guys that had done some of the same things, okay? Using a surcingle and this sort of thing. In the Netherlands, folks, there, look at that. You see the similarities? That right there is called foundation work. That's the way your mule should be traveling, like that. Look at her. She's riding the mule. Her hand is down. She's down in the saddle. Heels are down, toes up. The mule's back is rounded out. And the mule, notice the right front leg is going forward. The right rear leg is going forward. You see that? Right side, left side, right side, left side. You all see that? That is how a mule walks. That is called a single foot. And when you have a wonderful Spanish mule like she's got, oh, what a wonderful ride. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. You're that's incredible. You see, I want you all to see what I'm seeing. You see that? Do you see the heels down, David? You see the head down? That right there, that is true harmony. That is harmony, folks. That is true. That's the way your mule should be traveling. And we got the picture of the guy going down the road too, don't we, Dave? Can you throw that at us one time? I know you just.
Let me see if I got it here. Let's see.
Look at that, folks. Look, you see the same thing as you see her in the Netherlands? Look at him. His hands are down. Look at the frame up. Now the head just raised up right there a little bit. That's okay. Do you see what I'm saying, folks? When the mule is happy, look at the tail just having the ball, okay? Ears are kind of up and nice, and this, he's a clown. Okay, you see how look at them happy ears kind of flopping and being straight ahead? That's a happy mule. Yeah, that's a happy mule. Good job, Good job. I love that.
That's very good. Y'all are getting Steve excited over here. Andrea wrote in, I have watched a lot of training videos and I would like to start working with my donkeys, but I am having a hard time catching them. How can I fix this? Steve, what would you say to Andrea?
Okay, number one, Andrea, and all of you, when it comes to training, you must keep your donkeys and your mules, each one in a separate pen. 20 by 20 is about as big a pen as you need. Oh, Steve, I don't want to keep them in that 20 by 20 pen. Listen, my mule's wife, not my mule's wife, my wife's mule, 28 years old when she passed away. She spent 26 years in a 20 by 20 stall. Yeah. Did she go out and go hunting and stuff like this? Oh, yeah, all the time. Okay, so now put the mule in a small, or the donkey and the mule in a small pen, each one in separate pens, and put him on a feeding program. Okay, now, when it comes to catching them, understand how you present yourself is really important. When you first walk into that pen, if that mule or that donkey turns around and walks away from you, you hoot and holler, hey, 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 you slap your legs and make a big bunch of noise. And when the mule turns around and the donkey turns around and looks at you, you stop and get quiet. When he turns around and looks away again, get after him. He's going to turn around and look at you like, why didn't you move? Okay. You have to do that in the very beginning. Okay. Now, we want to do everything in 3, 6, 9, 12. So I'm going to walk in that pen 3 times, maybe 10 times, maybe 20 times in order to get me 3 that are in line simultaneously correct. Now, even if they tip an eye towards you, call that 1. The main thing is one side of the brain does take and look back at you. That's the same as turning around and coming to you. It is the foundation of what you want to see. Okay? When you hoot and holler and make a big noise, that frightens them. They think they have to have fright and flight move off. They have to take off. But when you get quiet, they'll turn around and say, well, why'd you get quiet? They'll turn around and look at you. Well, why did you move? Got the idea? Okay. So that's the very beginnings. Now, there is a lot to the story. A lot more things to do. Now, can I do all the training in my 20 by 20 stall? Yes, if one is hard to catch. And yes, if you don't have your training facility set up so that you can take them down an alleyway and into a round pen. A round pen is absolutely the best way to teach a mule, a donkey, how to be caught. Now, folks, what you don't want to do, you don't want to put them out in a great big pasture. You don't want to put them out in a great big corral because that just makes them hard to catch. Keep them retained in a small area. Now, if you have a smaller donkey, go ahead and put them in a 10 by 10 stall. Okay. The idea is that you will be able to work with them a lot easier. They will depend upon you. They have to have their feed and water and they get to where they get used to you. Now, you can play games with these guys. All right. What I mean by that is this. I'm walking over with my feed and my donkey is looking at me and all of a sudden turns away and starts to walk off. I'll put the feed on the ground right there. I'll turn around and walk away looking over my shoulder. And the donkey's going to come back going, hey, what about that feed? Don't give them the feed if they are turning away from you. All you're doing is giving them, hey, that a boy. Good job. Turn away from me. No, folks. Make it hard on them. You need to be the best thing in that corral. They need to say, oh, my buddy, here you are. Da, 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 da. Okay. Now, I do very little in the way of treats. This is the time that I would give a form of a treat, and I would use an apple because it has some smell on it. Now, while I'm talking about this, my old cowboy buddy, Nick West, he say, Steve, you ever understand why a horse likes to be around pretty girls? And I said, well, Nick, I hadn't really considered that, you know. He said, well, I'll tell you. He said, they smell pretty. They wear a lot of perfume. So the horse likes to say, oh, what do we got here? He said, put yourself a lot of cologne on your gloves, on your shirts, and around, so that they kind of smell you and they kind of want to come up and know about you, and that sort of thing. So wear some extra cologne. You girls wear that perfume, put it on your gloves, put it on your shirts and stuff. Now the apple has a nice smell to it, okay? There's nothing wrong with taking an apple and holding some pieces of apple, maybe put it in your pocket, and maybe when the mule turns around or the donkey turns around and looks at you, just toss one on the ground and just sit there and wait. Let him get that piece of apple. Then have him look up at you. Then kind of hold the apple, okay? Toss another little piece on the ground. And I don't mind giving a treat to get them to come into my space. Now, they're not to come all the way into my space, okay? When they start to come in, I will then step toward them to the shoulder. That will then say to them, wait a minute, he moved toward me. And I would take this just a small step now. And I would wait there. And then I would throw down another piece of carrot or another piece of apple. Okay. My favorite way to give a treat once they start coming into me is I give the treat toward their shoulder. That way they have to back away out of my space in order to get the treat. Okay. Now, only time I do that is when I want them to get them to start trusting me, because here I am a predator. They are a prey animal. And besides that, most of these ones that are hard to catch are because people taught them how to be hard to catch. They spent too much time petting on the face. They come to the face rather than going to the shoulder. Anytime, folks, anytime you want to be safe around one or you want to approach one, always approach at the shoulder. Watch the old cowboy movies. Watch them. Every time they get on and off their animal, watch them. They get on and off at the shoulder. Why? That's the neutral place to be. If that mule or if that horse jumps ahead to kick at them or starts to take off, they're in a neutral area in the center of that shoulder, so that as the horse is going to be a problem, I can jerk down on that bridle and I could be in a safe place. So approaching the shoulder is a neutral zone. You approach the hip, it's go away from me. You approach the nose, it's wait. Now, if you walk into that pen and you're squared shouldered and you're looking at that shoulder, it's okay to look them in the eye, folks. It's good for you. Look them in the eye. It's okay. But my left eye is on their eyes, on their left eye. My right eye is on the shoulder. I'm going to approach the shoulder. That's my approaching zone. Okay. Now, let me give you some language. When you're walking toward them, you look straight ahead. When you look down and look back up, you just ask for permission to come into their herd. That's what happened. Okay. So that's a great big picture. Number one, put them in a small pen. Number two, start working with them. Okay. Now you can take a bucket and go in there, sit on a bucket and sit there on them. Don't do a bunch of hand feeding. You know, remember, it can be causing a problem. Everything in 3, 6, 9, 12. So if you give them a treat and they take it, good. Then I want them to come closer the next time. If I have to reach out to give it to them by the third time, I'm not going to do it anymore. So think about it and do something naturally with them.
Awesome. Great question. Thank you. We have another one here from Yuta. Yuta says, when I rotate my mule out of the paddock, he has been in, he seems to stress. He stands in front of the gate and weaves his head side to side. He is the only mule we have besides 4 horses. We don't put him in with the horses, but he can see them. The easy way would be to put him back in his paddock, but I feel he should be able to be rotating from time to time. Excuse me, what do I do?
It's okay to have a weaver. It's what they do. Tom and Katie, my 2 big Shire mules, they love to have something to do. They wanted to get out of the corral. They wanted to go pull that wagon. They wanted something to do. These mules were 17 hands tall. Yeah, big Shire mules, black with white legs like the Shire horses. Now, they don't need to rotate out, folks. They don't need to be out there with them horses. Matter of fact, them horses need to be in with them, and each horse needs to be in an individual stall. Don't put them out there on a big smorgasbord. Horses can grass founder just as well as a mule can. A mule will do it quicker because of their daddy, the donkey. Okay, carbohydrates and donkeys and mules don't get along. So he's a weaver. He just wants something to do. I want to go. Give me something to do. I want to be out there with my buddies, is one of the things he's saying. So I say to you this, don't worry about it. Folks, here's one of the things, and Dave, you heard me say this. We tend to put our feelings into these mules. Oh, he'll feel better if I blanket him. Well, listen, I just got a friend of mine here just come down from Bozeman, Montana. It's been 40 degrees below zero. I was hoping he would stick around to do this show with me. He does not blanket his animals. He said they don't need it, and he says they'll be out there at 40 below and they won't stand in the barn. They'll stand out in the snow. Okay, folks, we put our feelings on them. They don't need to be out there running and playing on the pasture. They don't. All you're going to do is create future problems. I've had people tell me that they get their animals out and they're out packed way back in the mountains. And they're used to putting their animals way out on pastures where they live. And now they're up in the mountains and now they can't catch some mules and horses. Why? Because they don't need you. They got all that grass and water and their buddies. And they spent days trying to catch them. Yeah. Folks, you're not seeing the future of what's going to happen. I'm trying to help you not do that. Now, if you want to experience it, you'd be like a lot of people. Call me up or email me or something saying, dang, Steve, it happened to me. It finally did. So, keep the mule. Don't worry about the weaving. It's all part of being a mule, okay? I've seen a horse or two do it, but it's mainly a mule. And ain't no big deal. Matter of fact, Katie used to swing her head like this. Back and forth. Let's go. Put me in the harness. Give me something to do. And when I put her in the harness, they just, okay, man, now I got me a job. See, my mules were Republicans, Dave. They wanted to work for their food.
This guy. Next one. This one came in from somebody new, at least as far as I can tell, someone new. She sent in, she says, thanks for all you do in educating people about their mules and donkeys. My mule passed away last year. I want to step down a notch given age and funds. I want to get a donkey, but my problem is I understand that you need 2 donkeys. I don't want 2 donkeys. My mule couldn't care less if I had a mule or a horse was around. She bonded with her sheep. So why can't a single donkey bond with one of my sheep and 3 goats, all hornless? It's either 1 donkey or nothing. Let's see here. I did have a chance for 2 riding donks, but I didn't want to break up the bonded pair. Let's see here. What would you have to say here to our friend, Steve?
Okay, folks, these mules and donkeys don't have a bonded friend. I know you're using that terminology. I understand. They are an equine. They're an equine. They like to be around each other because they help out each other. A lot of eyes looking around sees the predators coming to get them. So the more eyes that are around, the more comfortable they are. My wife's mule, okay, and my other mules, they would be in separate stalls. They would, when the other mules would leave off and go to work and do things, as I was training them, Sure, they would look around and say, what's going on? But they'd go right back doing their own thing. They got used to being trained to stay in a stall by themselves. I remember last week, folks, I told you about my dog, Jess. I tell Jess, Ranger. He knows to go out into my Ranger. That's my side by side. I'll say, Jess, Mom's truck. He'll go out in the garage to my wife's truck. And I'll say, Jess, Dad's truck. He'll go over to, now I can have all three of them vehicles there, Dave, and he'll go to each one of them because of the training that he had. All right. Now, I told you about how you hand him a dog bone, a cookie, and he'll turn his nose away from it. Now, how many dogs do you know that turn their nose away when you hand them a dog bone or you hand them a piece of meat? You hand my dog, you try to give him a people food, he'll turn his nose away. Why? It's natural for him to want to eat it. What do dogs do? As soon as they put the pan down, chomp, 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 chomp. Not Jess. Not Jess. Because of the training. Folks, you can get so detailed on your training. I'll tell Jess, go over there and do your business. He'll go over and hike his leg. Jess, go get a drink of water. He'll go over and get a drink of water. Yeah. And there are some pretty good mule trainers over there. I have watched them send their mules and this sort of thing off and doing different things and come back. You can do that stuff, folks. Listen, you can get real refined on your training. Real refined. So when it comes down to it, what I'm telling you here now, you can train your animals to the nth degree. They don't need to be in a great big stall. They don't need all these things like we try to do for them, okay? And this mule, this donkey don't need another donkey. You need to be the herd leader. You need to be the other donkey. Don't listen to these folks that say, oh, you can't have one donkey by himself because then he's going to be, no, baloney, okay? I can take you to Israel. Israel. Here's a donkey in his corral. You know where his corral is? A stake in the ground and about 1 foot hobble to his back leg. Yep. Hear that? 1 foot hobble to a stake all his life. Folks, they get used to it. Ain't no big deal. All right. I got a kick out of Dave. I got a kick out of one of my clients, and he's a doctor in Vermont. And he come all the way from Vermont with 2 mules, came all the way to Arizona, and he was getting ready to retire, and he just wanted to get away. He'd had enough. He come all the way out, and I trained on him and his mules and this sort of thing. And he came out, and then he went to Texas with me. And he said, Steve, I ain't seen nothing like it. If anybody would have told me, and you know us, Dave, you rode out here, you know what I mean. If anybody would have told me I could have rode my mule in something like this, I'd have told them impossible. We have pampered our mules and our horses way too much. Then I took him, Dave. We went to Texas to do a clinic, and his horse, a mule, ended up getting crippled. And the other one we really didn't want to take on the ride. So guess what he rode? A one-eyed horse. He only had one eye. He was amazed at where that horse went. Now, what were we doing? Get this. We were chasing wild pigs with dogs. We would get the wild pigs cornered. The dogs would ear them down. We would jump off our mules, grab a back leg, stick them with a knife. Then we'd have pork dinner that night. You know? But so I said all that to say this, folks, we're babying these mules too much and these donkeys. Don't listen to this backyard thinking, oh, you got to have Fluffy, be with Fluffy. No, you don't have to do that. First of all, you got to learn to be a leader. And if you're not a herd leader, that donkey ain't going to listen to you. That mule ain't going to listen to you, okay? It is backyard terminology to think that you have to have another animal. Now, yeah, I can take, when I've been on these different ranches, and I was at the canyon, and when I was at Yosemite, we would bring other animals in that would be out for the winter, and they'd come in to start to go to work. And here's brand new animals. They would immediately start bonding with one another. Why? Why? Because they're equine, just like you and I. We're mule people here. We're kind of, we like to talk about this and do different things. You get hot rodders like do hot rods, like fishing guys do fishing things. But see, mules and donkeys, they rely on each other. Okay, make them rely on you, folks. Rely on you. Then you'll have a lot better animal.
All right. Steve, it's 4:07. Do you have time for us to get through the comments here?
Wow, where to go? Yeah, let's go.
I know.
got
All right,
long
we're
way
going to fly through. Folks, if I missed some of your hellos, please forgive me. We're going to try to get these done here. The next question we have comes from Christine. I hate shedding out my mule. What is your opinion on body clipping?
We body clipped when we were going to show. Let them be natural. Let them have their hair. They have that hair to protect themselves. Okay, now we used to shave them. Show during the winter, we'd blanket them so that they stayed slick and shiny for the shows. Otherwise, folks, no. Just let them grow the hair. Don't cut the hair out of the ears. Golly, don't do that. When you do that, you're taking the natural way to keep the bugs and the dirt out of their ears. Don't do that, okay? So, you could use a shed blade, and you could kick the hair off, but don't do that. Just, if it makes you feel good, do it. Otherwise, let them go naturally.
Awesome. Let's see here. Linda's watching. Hello, Linda. Let's see. Hey, Dave O'Brien is watching. Let's see. Moving right along here. A lot of folks chiming in, gave lots of great answers for the questions we talked about earlier with Yolanda's mule there. Linda is watching. Hello, Linda. Let's see. Jim is watching from Maryland. Farsi is watching. Let's see here. Tracy, hey, Queensland, Australia, international again. Yolanda says, my mule gets an outdoor blanket due to the heavy rains and big storms we have every week. And one of the things that you said earlier, Steve, which I thought was great, is that Yolanda's, if there's anybody that's got a mule that is just well taken care of and dialed in, it's Yolanda. So that's pretty cool there, and glad to hear that.
And I might mention, Dave,
Yeah.
there is a time to blanket, and it's called rain rot. Okay, you'll see patches of hair missing off the backs in places like that, and you get heavy areas that have a lot of mildew and a lot of rain. Then it's okay to put a blanket on to help keep the animal dry when they have rain rot. It'll help them get better quicker. There are other things that you can use on them as well for the rain rot, but it can be kind of devastating to them in a lot of ways. It can get really sore back and sore things like this. So if I'm going to use a blanket at all, it'd be for something like that.
Awesome. Next question. This one comes from Karen, watching from Oregon. What do you do if your mule hates the rear cinch and tries to kick at you?
Let them get over it. They'll get over it, okay? Here's what I want you to do. When you're cinching up, you cinch up a little at a time, okay? Put the come along rope on the mule. When you see the mule flick an ear towards you, he's thinking, I'm going to kick to you. If he's already kicked you or kicked at you, you're already too late. So it's your timing. It's okay to use the come along rope, bump, 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 say to that mule, that is not acceptable. Okay? They were upset the first time you put a halter on them. They were upset the first time you put a blanket on them. They were upset the first time you took them out of the corral to be trained on. Okay? They're going to be upset about things. They will get over it. Okay? I have trained thousands of mules all over the world. All over the world. The biggest thing we have to do is don't put ourselves into it and say, poor baby. Let them get over it. Now, you cinch it up a little bit at a time. As long as there's a good attitude, we're not bumping the come along rope. But if you want to tell a mule or a donkey, hey, that is an incorrect behavior, okay, don't ever let them tell you, I don't want to cross a creek. I don't want to go across the bridge. I don't want to get in a trailer. Do you hear that, folks? It's the same thing as I don't like the cinch. Yes, it is. Okay. I don't want to do this. I know. Listen, you are the herd leader. If you were the herd leader in a real herd and you were a real mare, you would bite them, kick them, stomp them to make them do what they wanted that you want them to do. Yes, you would. So your little bumping with a come along rope, anytime they are incorrect, bump, bump, bump. So let them get over it. Okay. Keep in touch. Let me know how you're doing with that.
Awesome. Sherman Johnson Taxidermy is watching. Hey, 34th anniversary, and I've been doing my honeydews. Hopefully, she put watch Steve Edwards' Mule program every Tuesday on the honeydew. That way you can check one off here. I believe. Let's see. Did I have one more? Last one. This one's from Rory. My wife and I are booking a trip to Spain and Portugal this year. Do you have any suggestions of mule and donkey places to visit?
I don't. It used to be I knew some folks in Spain and in Portugal at the same time, but I've not heard from them in a long time. Um, you're talking two places there that are renowned for horsemanship in so many ways. Um, I would just say to you, go online, see what you can find. Now, remember, uh, the Spanish they're a very proper Spanish speaking, so they don't speak the poor Mexican that I do, the border Spanish. Okay, but man, that's going to be wonderful. Portugal and Spain, that's one of my dreams is to go there. I often wished I was getting invited to go to Spain or Portugal to train, but anyway, don't have that yet. I am going to Argentina in April, so I'll give you also an update on that.
Awesome. That's it for today. Folks, thank you so much for hanging out with us. It's always a good time. We're ending today's program on a better note than last week, and so we're so glad that you were here. With the come along coffee. We had all good jokes. We separated coffee from jokes the whole time. We're going to build on that foundation. And as you know, you never graduate foundation training. So we're going to stay right here on the foundation training. If you want to go check out muleranch.com, you can find all sorts of information there. It's absolutely free, as well as the different things that we've talked about. Steve, anything you want to say before we're all done today?
No, folks. Hey, guess what? It's coming up to be election time. Okay, and here's what you got to understand: is God takes and puts into place the kings and the princes and this sort of thing. Read Timothy, you'll see it. Several other places, you'll see it. God does that. Okay, now there's nothing wrong with you praying for the United States and a leader. We see it time and time again to where a person gets between a nation and God and says, God, what about? Okay. We need to, folks, be lifting this country up. This country needs to be lifted up. We need leadership that is true leadership, that is godly driven. And I need you to get out there and to be praying that God's will be done in this next election. God bless you all. See you later.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you hanging out, and we will talk to you again soon. God bless.